Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney. Happy Friday. Today we are going through my precious fabric, wearable, very much a wearable muslin, because I've made this pattern before, but I'm going to be hacking it. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, the process that I went through to make some decisions as we are going through our precious fabric month. But before we get into that, today is Friday, which means we do have a Feature Friday pattern for Love Notions. And that pattern today is the Lynx top and dress. Highly recommend this pattern if you love a square neckline. This isn't the Lynx I'm wearing, but if you do love a square neckline, it's got a beautiful square neckline option, a beautiful kind of a sweetheart neckline. I've made a shirt and the dress in this. It's just a very, the lines of the dress are, I just find very like elongating. It's a pretty easy sew as well. It's meant for knits. Absolutely love this pattern. It is $6 today only. And when you use my code GIDGET10, you get an additional 10% off that sale price. So definitely go have a look and see if that's one you would like to add in your catalog. Okay, let's talk a little bit about wearable muslins. First of all, the challenge. If you are not aware, Tomcat Stitchery is hosting a Precious Fabric Challenge this month. We've got a lot of really wonderful prizes. Quite a few YouTube vloggers and Instagram personalities are taking part in this challenge. So we've got a complete schedule of that on the website. I will leave it linked down below if you would like to follow along with everyone that is participating. But just go to our tomcatstitchery.com and it's right there at the top. You can click on that and download the schedule. You may find some new to you sewing content creators / YouTubers that you weren't aware of before, and some that you know and love and are excited to follow along with this journey. So the whole premise of the challenge is that you are to find that fabric that's in your stash that you are just too scared to cut into. Doesn't have to be something expensive, just something maybe you can't get any more of it, or you're scared because the fiber is something you've never worked with before and it just makes you nervous. Maybe it is something that was a little bit more pricier, or just something that you aren't sure what to make with it. So you're frozen and it's just been sitting in a drawer. Let's get those out of the drawers onto our bodies or person. Someone asked, is it okay if I sew a bag? Absolutely. Whatever. We're just wanting to get some of those precious fabrics out of our stashes and into functional everyday life is the goal. As a reminder of the fabric I'm going to be using for this challenge, it is this gorgeous wool. A pretty thin wool. This is a pretty thin wool that I got from Let's Sew back in May. So this hasn't been in my stash that long. But it is gorgeous, and it reminds me so much of a Bowden-esque style fabric. So it's this beautiful dark blue and kind of a warm tomato red on one side, and then it's the opposite on the other side. So I thought it would be fun. I wanted to do a jacket. That's exactly what I saw with this fabric when I saw it on the bolt. I knew that's what I wanted to do with it, but a way that I could kind of use, mostly this is going to be the right side of the fabric, but how else I can use this fabric in order to also the contrast as well. Like, how can I bring that in for a fun little something? You guys know that I love a good color moment. And in fact, I even made that lady jacket last year, I guess, where I did half the jacket with one side of the fabric and the other half of the jacket with the other side of the fabric, kind of inspired by a Farm Rio sweater that I own. I'm not going to do that quite on this, but I would like some ways that we can bring in the wrong side of the fabric onto the main part of the jacket. So I did a whole video on it and we talked about it. Now, my YouTube membership is actually who is going to be voting on a lot of, well, they voted on the pattern, but also they are voting on little odds and ends. You know, should I put the epaulets on, or should I do the red side for the welt pockets, or should I do the, you know, whatever the case. They're going to be voting on a lot of the different details that are going to be going into this jacket. But the pattern that won, or as I'm filming this, it was actually tied. It was the It's Just Stitch Akari trench that I'm going to crop, tied with the Pattern Emporium downtown jacket, which I've also made, and I was going to do welt pockets on that instead of the patch pockets. However, a couple people brought up some good points that the downtown jacket's got a yoke and stuff like that, that maybe get a little too busy because my fabric is pretty busy in and of itself. So because they're tied, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the Akari, but we're going to try it on. I'm going to show you how I'm determining how I'm going to hack this pattern. And then the things that I'm going to leave off, because I do want this to be a more streamlined, because it's very busy. So I don't need all of the trench coat bells and whistles that are on my original of this jacket, which is so good. I love this jacket so much. Anyway, I don't have the belt on it right now, and I'm not going to put a belt on this one either. So let me really quickly walk you through the things that I think I'm going to do, and then I'll put it on and show you how I kind of determined where I want things to go. So the first thing, things I love about this jacket, I love the collar on this pattern. It is so good. The collar stand on it is so good. And I just love the way it like comes up and down like a true trench coat. That absolutely is going to stay. It could be fun to do the other side of the fabric for the collar stand. Or maybe the facing is the red side of the fabric so that we can really see the inside there when it's open. Just some ideas I've had. I could leave the epaulettes if I wanted to. That's something I'm going to have the community vote on. I am going to omit the shield that's here. What's that called? Is that the gun shield? I can't remember. There's technical words for all of these because obviously these are all inspired by like actual military Navy coats. Anyway, or Army maybe. Anyway, I'm going to omit this. I'm not going to include this in my jacket, definitely. And the rain flap, I'm also going to omit this. I'm not going to include this in my jacket either. I'm just going to leave that off. Now, this jacket has got this is a really, really phenomenal pattern, and it's got some really beautiful buildup of shoulder pads and sleeve heads in the shoulder of this jacket. So because of that, and I really want to leave that, because I do like the idea of it being tailored, I'm actually going to line this jacket. I wasn't going to line it because I wanted the inside of the fabric to kind of shine, but if I'm using that in different places, I think I'm still going to get what I want while still having a really beautiful tailored jacket. I really want those shoulder pads and sleeve heads in there because it really does make a difference and it just looks so good. I have played around. I'm not going to use buckles for this jacket. I may put the belt loops on the sleeves and then just maybe use a button to secure the strap and just leave it as is. It just won't be adjustable, which is fine, but I may put that in as a detail. Again, I'll have my community vote on that, on what I should do. And then I'm going to leave the belt loops off the body because I'm going to be cropping this. So the hacking I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cropping the pattern and I'm going to be moving the welt pockets up. So the welt pockets right now are at your hip, which for the length of the jacket makes sense. I'm going to be bringing them up here because I do want a pocket in my jacket, but I want it up higher. And then obviously I'm cropping the length. And that's really it. Again, my community is going to be voting on any of the little bits and pieces that we will do. Okay. So obviously, if I had not made this pattern yet, I could have very easily just thrown together a very basic, a very basic muslin out of just like thrifted bed sheets. But because I've made this pattern before and we're just going to be hacking it, I can try this on to make a determination on what I want to do. So the first thing that I know is that I want the finished hem to hit right above where these, I think it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, right above the fourth buttons. So I'll have 3 buttons still on. I'm going to leave it double-breasted, the jacket double-breasted, but I'm going to cut this so that the finished hem is right above those fourth buttons. So it will end right here. And if I'm looking at my body, that is ending right about here. So that is high hip, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to leave the width on this the same. I'm not going to be putting a vent in the back because I don't need to. There is a vent on the back of this coat, but because it's long, but I'm not going to need to do that, which will be helpful and, one less thing I have to do. But I do want this to end above where that fourth button is, which should also make it really easy to alter the pattern when I get to that point. Now, obviously, that is cutting right in to this welt pocket. So my plan is to move all of this welt up. So instead of my pockets being down here, I'm just going to be moving them up here. And the easiest way I think to do that is I am going to trace off all the welt pocket markings where the grain line is, all that kind of stuff on the pattern. And then I'm literally, just like you would use to raise and lower a dart, except I'm not going to cut out the pattern. I'm just taking that welt and I'm just going to move it up the grain line until it hits within my jacket so that I've got welt pockets that are up here as opposed to down here, staying out of the dart bulk, like maybe right below the dart bulk that happens right there, so that I've got pockets that are like right here as opposed to down here. So that is what I'm going to do, and I can definitely, when I do that, I can absolutely film that step and show you how I'm, just like moving a dart, I'm just going to take the pocket and go so that it sits up here above where all of the hem and all that kind of stuff is going to be taken off. So what do we think? I want to also say I really appreciate everyone putting in their pattern suggestions. I went and looked, honestly, I went and looked at a few of them. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a really cute jacket. So they weren't exactly what I was looking for this project, but it's a lot that I'm like, ooh, I'm going to need to try that one. I'm going to need to try that one. There were even quite a few that came up a few times. So thank you so much for all of your comments on last Friday's video. That was very, very helpful. But those are the plans that I hope to make. And then I'm also going to be picking out a lining for the inside, which my community will be doing as well. If you would like to be a part of any of that, join us. It is $3.99 a month. And I will leave a link. We've got other stuff that pops up around there. Little behind the scenes, that kind of stuff that happens in the community. But I'll leave a link down in the description box down below if that is something you're interested in joining us on. But there we have it. These are my plans for my wearable muslin for my jacket. I already know that this fits me fantastically, so I'm not going to make any adjustments to the pattern itself. Just doing some hacking of this jacket that I already have in order to make it the trench coat of my dreams. So I'm also going to omit the buttons. I'm not going to put the buttons on the welt pockets when they're up here. I'm going to leave those off. So that's the plan, I think. I think it is. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. What are you going to be making with your precious fabric? Are you joining us in this journey? Is there some stuff that you're going to cut into as well? Get some sewing in this weekend. And until next time, happy sewing. Bye.